OldManSim, who are you? What do you do here on Twitch? What's your content about?
When you visit my channel community, you can expect for me to make a joke of myself and to be very cringy at times. Not cringy in a bad way, just cringy like, I'll do anything to make anybody laugh. I've done that ever since I was young. I just remember always trying to make people laugh. And if it comes to my own expense, oh well. You know what I mean? You can't laugh at yourself. You can't laugh at anybody. On my stream, you'll find all kinds of stuff about what is it, 2 months now? How long has the new Destiny season been? I fell back in love with Destiny 2.
Mm.
So you'll see a lot of that. Yesterday, Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda came out, and so you'll be seeing that for a little while. Hundreds of hours of that probably. Um, the Zelda franchise is actually what got me into my love of gaming. You'll see some variety. You'll see a lot of Destiny 2 when I get back into it. The new season is about to come out next week or the week after next. Retro games. I'll do some reacts. I'll watch some videos. I don't really have TV at home. I just cut the cord, and so I watch a lot of YouTube and stuff like that. So, seeing as you'll hear the word meta some, like a lot of Twitch is going back to its roots, Justin TV days of talking and reacting and stuff like that. It's kind of become the meta again. I do a little bit of that because I figured, hey, if I'm going to watch it, I might as well watch it with everybody else. It's like we're watching something together and see what people's thoughts and stuff are. So you'll see a little bit of everything. Just fun and a good time. The community's awesome. It's at its highs and lows. You start changing things up. The community changes up a little bit. You find out who's really there in the long run. But overall, it's a great group of people. It's a really great, amazing group of people who just have fun, and everybody's accepted. I'm willing to have a conversation about anything as long as it doesn't get like out of pocket or disparaging or whatever. I know a lot of people don't want to talk about this in their stream or don't want to talk about that in their stream, but really it's an open area, open forum for anybody. I'm willing to talk about anything at any time.
I would definitely consider you quite the variety streamer. I think one of the first things I noticed when looking at your page was the Legend of Zelda theming on all the images in the panels, as well as just your on screen elements. The Legend of Zelda was kind of what helped you fall in love with gaming. Do you want to expand upon that a little bit more and talk about how you got into games?
It was cool. Like my dad was always a gamer. My dad's almost 70 years old and he still plays stuff like Call of Duty and not very well. His eyes are going. You know what I mean? But so games were always part of my life. We had, and I wasn't old enough when the Atari came out. You know what I mean? It was still out. I played the Atari 2600. I had a Nintendo. My grandparents bought me my Nintendo. I owned almost every console. I love gaming. Period. I remember playing the original Zelda. I think I was 5 years old. I don't remember if I remember playing it then or a few years later. I don't know when my memories start. You know what I mean? I love the game, but the love for gaming really switched on when I got to my Super Nintendo and I got A Link to the Past. It just changed everything for me. Like I was like, wow, there's so much to do here. It's so immersive. I've replayed it on stream a bunch of times in the past few years, and it's so beautiful. It's just it made me fall in love with gaming, and then just that series just I think I've played almost every game except for some of the Game Boy games. It's just an amazing series. Like I'll always have that in a special place in my heart. I'll always tell everybody it's my number one franchise. That and Final Fantasy VII. I don't know. It's just an amazing franchise, and to see that something that came out when I was 4 years old is like the number one game everywhere right now is kind of
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Like nearly 40 years later, it's still going strong and one of the top games out there. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous, but it shows you make something great. It lasts.
At the time of this recording, we are fresh off of the Tears of the Kingdom, which just literally released at this point. How are you? Have you basically been just diving into that? How's that been for you?
Oh, it's been phenomenal. I liked the one before Breath of the Wild, but I still wouldn't say it's my favorite. It was A Link to the Past. I got it at midnight on Thursday night, going into Friday morning, and I started playing it. And I had to be at work early in the morning, and I got about 2 hours of sleep. I had to be at work early this morning, and I played it until way too late last night as well. It's honestly, I've played like maybe 9 hours, and I've done hardly nothing but just run around and do stupid stuff, and it's probably the best game I've ever played. And that's just not coming from a Zelda fan, just from the ability when you get into a sandbox. you want to be able to do whatever, whenever, however. You don't want like to follow that linear path. You got to go here and do it this way. The ability just to do whatever you want is just mind blowing, and especially on something like the Switch, which always gets pushed down on and looked down upon because it's like a handheld console that's last generation. But for something that they're able to fit so much and do so much with, some of these other big AAA games that are coming out on these great things should really take a page from. Like, you can do anything if you get creative with it and you maximize your resources. It's
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Is there any one or two things that stand out about Legend of Zelda for you that have kept you engrossed in that series for so long? What about it did you love so much?
Just the characters, and I mean, I know sometimes it's a convoluted story, but the story and how many different ways can you save the princess? Can you just and it just always it's always different. Like, it's the same, but it's different. Like, it's the telling of a story through something that you can relate to. I was actually watching a video before I got on here talking about the paradox of Ocarina of Time and whatever, and it was just talking about how like it's, I guess, like every like little kid's dream, every boy's dream. Like, you go and you play outside for the first time and you grab a stick or whatever, and it's like that sense of adventure. What are you going to do? What are you going to find? Like,
Yeah.
it's a sense of adventure. Like, like, you know what you're going to do, you know what you're supposed to do, but how are you going to get there?
Love it. I share uh, those early experiences of Legend of Zelda with you. That was the first game that I really played on the NES. I've told this story a couple times on the show, but for those that haven't heard it, the short version is I had been just hanging out with my dad. My dad had a good friend that he'd love to watch sports with, so sometimes like we'd go over to his buddy's house to watch sports. But one of those times he sat me down in front of like a second TV with his NES. He's like, "Oh, play this game that I got," and it was Legend of Zelda. And I didn't have a console at home, so like for me, I was just blown away by just the fact that I got to play an NES at the time. But Legend of Zelda was like one of the first things I got to ever play in that moment, and it was a very formative thing for me. It made me fall in love with games, and not long after that, my dad, noticing that I loved it so much, got me an NES for my birthday, and I got a copy of Legend of Zelda. So I share that. I share that with you, and I completely agree. I think it's a wonderful series. I love it. I have not yet played Tears of the Kingdom because I slacked on Breath of the Wild, to be honest. So I'm going to go back and finish Breath of the Wild, and then go right into. I'm going to do some binging very soon. So, uh, excellent. We got a couple questions coming in from chat. This is a good time for Arc Fox asks, "You always wear a beanie when you stream. Is there a story behind it?"
I wouldn't say it's really a story. It's just I wore a lot of hats and beanies and stuff throughout my life. I would say, honestly, more hairline fear. You know what I mean? Like, I don't I have a good hairline. I'm not gonna take off now because it's all my hair is pushed back, so it's gonna look like I have a seven head or whatever. But but no, it's more hairline fear, and that like with the headphones and everything, it makes my hair look better than what it normally would, like being out and like bouffanted in front or whatever. So you know what I mean? It's actually more hairline fear than anything. So I've even turned it into like a channel point redemption to where I bought a bunch of them. Like, I'll just change it because it's kind of what I'm known for now. I ended up putting it in my logo. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah,
no, not real ain't really any story. I just don't want to simply see my shiny forehead and be blinded, and it's over for him.
I love it. Let's see. We also have another question from Mr. Zaris. How do you feel new hardware would have impacted Tears of the Kingdom, if any? And do you feel that this sequel will follow in the footsteps of Breath of the Wild as a classic and pinnacle of what release era hardware is truly capable?
That's a really big and good question. Um, New hardware, it would have probably been another 5 years before the game came out, if I'm honest. Um, just because seeing what they were able to pack into something that's not as powerful, and that they want to use it to its extent. And that's
Yeah.
something that they've always wanted to do. I mean, in the original Zelda, they had to put a battery in, like that. That was one of the first games that had a battery in the actual cartridge to save the game because it was so massive. So they've always been one to push to the limits. I mean, the original Zelda was actually a CD based game in Japan originally, and then
Mm.
the Ocarina of Time is supposed to be part of the disc drive. I could go on for days about all this history and lore of different games and consoles and stuff, but so it would have just pushed it out further and further. We might not have seen it as soon as we did. It will follow in Breath of the Wild. It is a classic already, in my opinion, and that's really big for me to say. I'm not usually one to jump on bandwagons too quickly. And I mean, I think that it's honestly just like Breath of the Wild did. I think it set the standard for what any machine is capable of. I mean, that's a 720p handheld machine that's capable of delivering not only graphics but gameplay and stuff that other things, to this day still can't. AAA releases still can't do it. I just really think that uh, it's definitely classic. It's the pinnacle of a lot of games right now. Like I don't see many games touching it, honestly.
That I mean, I've been hearing the reviews and just kind of the overall sentiment from people who've been playing it, and it's been wildly, like, across the board. Everyone's like, this is an amazing game. A lot of I mean, there's a lot of critical acclaim already, 10 out of 10. So hearing you say the same thing, especially as someone who's been a long time Zelda fan, you played most of them, would you say it stacks up pretty well against not just Breath of the Wild, but even some of your more favorite games in the series?
Honestly, it's quickly become my favorite. Link to the Past was my favorite. I would always tell people that. Wind Waker was one of my favorites. Ocarina of Time, obviously. I liked Breath of the Wild, but it wasn't even like top four for me, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, in 9 hours of play, this has already surpassed that and overtaken it. And I will say too, is I wasn't going into this game thinking that it was going to be as good as it was either. I had lower expectations. I thought, oh man, they're adding vehicles and all this weird building and like
Right.
this. I didn't drive a car, or even I thought it was a little weird in Breath of the Wild they gave you a motorcycle. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, I'm not playing Final Fantasy. Like, why am I on a motorcycle? Why am I like road rashing it up or something? But
Yeah.
the way they implemented it, top notch. Like I don't know how any sandbox game could live up to. I don't know how Nintendo is going to live up to that. Honestly,
Right.
it's crazy.
Right.
Best Zelda game ever.
I love hearing that, and I think especially when Breath of the Wild was so well received, I honestly had wondered if they could top it, and it sounds like a lot of people are actually enjoying Tears of the Kingdom even more than they did Breath of the Wild. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to catch, like I said, I'll be doing some binging. My game backlog is pretty big, so I'm working through some games, but I'm realizing that this is a game I shouldn't miss out on. So I'll be I'll be getting in on that. Um, let's see. Kill King in chat is asking, for a person that's never played Zelda, where would the best starting point be for them?
Just jump in one of them. It's the same overall arcing story. It's like I said before, it's like that story you build up in your head when you're a child. You're going to go and you're going to save the day and save the person. It's just how you want to do it. I think that any of them honestly are a good starting point. There's some people that will tell you 7 or 8 different Zelda games is their favorite Zelda game of all time. I've heard people that say Twilight Princesses or Wind Waker or Majora's Mask or Link to the Past or the original one. I've even heard some people say like Link's Awakening. I saw that in the chat. Like anywhere, honestly, because you're gonna get the same. The one thing that they're gonna give you good gameplay, and they're gonna give you a good story.
Mm,
You could literally start at any of them, and especially because the timeline is so all over the place.
mm-hmm.
Like the first game in this like that ever came out is like super way down in the series. So it's not like, oh well, I have to play them in this chronological order because there is no chronological order. they've actually even changed their own timeline up like a handful of times. Like,
Hmm.
oh no, this is the real timeline now. No, this is they like so anywhere because you're going to like eventually play all of them in my opinion once you start playing them because it's the same adventure, just going to do it a different way. So any place is a good start.
Yeah. Good call. Good call. And for those that aren't familiar, yeah, they're all of these games within the series, they take place at different periods, and as Sim mentioned, uh the chronological release of the games doesn't match up with like the timeline like of the narrative of the game. So it's actually really interesting. There's a whole, like, you can find whole YouTube videos that just discuss how all of these Legend of Zeldas are connected in one way or another, but it is like a timeline thing. Like, they some flow into others, and then there's like alternate timelines, if I understand correctly. There's a whole thing there. So um we could spend a whole show talking about that. Maybe we will one of these days. Mr. Zaris has a question. How do you feel about Nintendo's views, or at least their treatment of content creators? Like, how do you feel about that as someone who is both a content creator and a fan of Nintendo properties? Do you have any thoughts on how they address their content creators that play their games?
They too many people go about it the wrong way. I know that Zelda gets a lot of flack. There was the lawsuit recently with the guy aptly named Bowser, which is hilarious to me that the guy's name's Bowser,
Yeah.
um, who was pirating games and stuff like that. You know, I've been a pirate before. I think that we all did. I grew up in the age of Napster. You know what I mean? I had a whole library of LimeWire. I understand that, and that happens. But the to me, the overarching thing is that if you do things the right way, like you don't pirate the game. Like I was seeing people on Twitch and other platforms, they were playing Tears of the Kingdom 2 weeks before it came out. They leaked the game out and people were playing it and people were emulating it. And that's fine and all, like if that's how you got to get to it. But a lot of times, in a sense, it's brought upon the creator themselves, the people playing the game themselves. Like you shouldn't put like if you have a love or a desire for a franchise or series, just like if it's music or movies or whatever, you need to support it. Now, am I happy with some of the moves that they've done? No. But I do also think that some of the other things they've done, like they've kind of banned Kotaku from getting previews of the game and previews and stuff like that. But they were outright in their articles telling people to go pirate the game. Here's how you pirate the game the day it came out. Like,
Yeah.
I think the reason why they've been around forever and they've had a staying power forever is because they do have a tight grip on their IP. Because too many times, you know, like I love Sonic growing up, but Sonic isn't, you know, what it was. Like Sega kind of let their IP go. They kind of went here, they kind of went there, and they kind of let up that grip. It's kind of archaic, you know what I'm saying? Like, yes, it is. We're old school, you know, old school mentality now. You have content creators, you have people streaming it and all this other stuff, but there's plenty of creators out there. There's Zeltics and other people that do it the right way. Zeltic gives more lore. He can turn something that Nintendo will put out in, of 5 minutes worth of lore, and he'll make a 4 hour video on it. You know what I mean? Like, and he gets previews for the like. I know there's so many creators out there that get to participate in the Zelda and Mario's and stuff like that because they treat it with respect and
Mm,
not like, oh, I'm a creator, I'm entitled to do this.
hmm.
And and like I said, not that they do everything right, you know, they don't, you know what I mean. But I think that there's a reason why they're still around. That's a reason why they've been around since what the 1900s when they were a trading card company. Like they weren't even a console company at that point. They've had their IPs forever.
Yeah. They certainly seem more locked down than most game companies, and so, which would make it tougher for companies, or not companies, but content creators dealing with them as a company. It does make it a lot harder to, I think, access a lot of that stuff earlier. But I think you're right. I don't think it hurts them as much. It does make it tougher. I mean, especially like you said with their relationship with news outlets too. But I don't think it hurts them as much as you would expect it to. If it was any other game uh company, it'd probably hurt them a lot more. But I mean, they're Nintendo, and I think maybe having that name, having that reputation, makes it a little easier for them to be as picky or closed off as they might come across. So that's how it goes. That's how it goes.
I totally agree. They're not. If it was Xbox doing it, they'd be getting dumped on. You know what I mean? If they were
Yeah,
putting out Halo Infinite, you know what I mean? They'd be getting dumped on. Like so many of these companies, they let up restrictions. They try to follow. They try to follow what the masses want, and then they end up they're not around anymore. Like
yeah.
everybody grew up with Mario. Like the Mario movie was amazing. Everybody grew up with Zelda and Metroid in these games, and that's the reason why even years later they're telling the same story, but everybody's hooked.
You've been a gamer for most of your life. It dates back all the way to the first Legend of Zelda. Let's talk about Twitch, or rather, Justin TV is when you got involved. What brought you into Twitch in general? What made you decide to stream? I'd love to hear that whole story.
Well, back in 2009, I kind of got into some trouble being a young, dumb person. And for 6 months, I had to, stay home and stay in my lane and figure some things out. And when I did, I had my laptop that barely functioned and I had to keep a fan underneath of it or it would almost blow up. And I'd go online and see different things. And I actually stumbled upon Justin TV and Four Player Podcast. Back then, a lot of people, I mean, a lot of the stories out there, but back then, like we kind of were touching on it in the backstage. Twitch is kind of coming full circle. It's yes, games are a big part of it, but also so is podcasts and reaction and game shows and content and stuff like that. Because back on Justin TV days, you couldn't have a full screen game. You would get banned. You would get suspended. It was a platform that was made to do what we're doing now, to just chat. So Four Player Podcast, there was four guys playing and the majority of it would be these friends sitting on the couch playing different games. They went viral, I think, with GTA 4, the clip on there, and then it would be smaller amount of games. So I started out there. Back then it was the wild wild west even more than it is today. I would broadcast some TV shows that I'd find on the internet and the movies and watch them with my friend on Justin TV. I wish I knew where that account was. I was always a big sports guy. I've kind of gotten away from him in the past few years. It's just kind of grown out of it, I guess. Lost interest as much. At least football, anyway. That's what I was really big into. And I remember Madden 10 came out in 2009, and it was the first ever Madden game that had an online franchise you can play with 32 other people. So we would sit there, and I found a group of people, and I ran a Madden league for 11 years from like 2009, which was Madden 10, until like Madden 21. As time went on, I'd watch streams and I'd watch Twitch, and I actually bought a capture card like 2 or 3 years before I ever had a computer to handle it because I'm like, I'm going to stream one day. And I had OBS on my computer and I would mess with overlays and I'd never streamed. I was like studying it. I'm like, how can I do this? And always trying to think of a way to rig it up to where I could do it. And I never could. Well, eventually, the Xbox, which was what I was primarily on, they had Twitch built in to where you could hit the go live button and go stream on Twitch. So what we would do is for our Madden League, we would have a certain set of rules and everything. And so one of the things was like, hey, if you have fast enough internet, you got to broadcast so we can make sure nobody's breaking rules, whatever. It's not, oh, this person did this person did that. And it's a he said, she said. We streamed it. So if somebody did something, we could sit there and regulate it. And then as that happened, I started watching streams more and more and more, like back in my Four Player Podcast days. And I was like, man, I would love to do that for real. And I'd start messing with like while other people were playing the league games, they would have just, their game up there and I would start putting an overlay here and I would do this. And I download the light stream on my computer because my computer couldn't handle it. And I would, you know, beam the graphics over on top of there and everything. And then one day, app on the Xbox appeared, and it was called Beam. And I'm like, what is Beam? And for those who don't know, that's the original Mixer. And the coolest thing about that was, and it appealed to us as Madden streamers, Twitch had more of a delay back then, but
Mhm.
Beam had faster than light, had FTL. So literally, it was almost instantaneously. You could talk and react. People could talk about the game. You could have people commentate, for the game for you and everything. So it kind of became more interactive, like you would see a Monday Night Football game or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, so I started doing it on there, and some people would come in and they didn't like any sports at all, and they're like, "Man, you're good at this. I enjoy being your stream." Like, but you don't like football. Like, what are you talking about? Like, no, it's just you just talk about whatever. And then it kind of being like, you know what? I want to pursue this more and more. And I started pursuing it. I went away from the sports, and I got really into Mixer, and I was, 2,000 plus followers. It's the reason why I have the followers that I have on Twitch, because I was like, you know what? I just want to kind of diversify. Let me send people to YouTube. Let me send people to Twitch. Even if I don't go over there and do that, you never know. I actually applied for partner on Mixer, and about 2 days in, I had something happen with one of the people that I was really close with, and I was like, screw this, I'm not doing it no more. I stopped streaming, and about 4 days in, they're like, you haven't streamed. We're not even going to offer you a chance to continue this. You're at a 3-week trial, and you're not doing anything. And then took about 2 months off. And then the day I decided to come back, they put the announcement that they were sold to Facebook Gaming. So I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
I
Wow.
was like, awesome. So then I was like, all right, everybody, like, let's go over to Twitch. I kind of, I found it hard way back when I first got on Twitch originally. I couldn't even get like a viewer. And I didn't even know back then that you should have your own stream up. You know what I mean? I'm sitting there with 0 viewers, like, oh man, I have a 0 on my screen. What am I doing? And then came over and, hit affiliate almost immediately within that first week, and been streaming ever since. And like I said, I've had some highs and lows. I had some lows after I came over to Twitch from Mixer. Nothing much was happening with traction. And then I got into playing horror games, Friday the 13th, Dead by Daylight. Got into some GTRP. That's where I hit my peak for a while. GTRP, everybody was playing it, everybody was loving it. No Pixel was taking off, and um, that became too drama filled. And then
Yeah.
I went back to my roots now, to where I'm playing more retro games and Destiny and stuff like that.
That's a hell of a ride, man. Going from watching a bunch of Justin TV and then gaining the capability of streaming to Beam, which then became Mixer, and then Mixer. Actually, I think you said something about Facebook buying them. They actually didn't buy them. It was they just had to shut it down. Microsoft just had to shut down Mixer, and the best they could do was I think they worked out a deal
Mm-hmm.
saying like, "Hey, if you want to keep streaming, we'll send you over to Facebook Gaming. They'll get you set up. You can fast track to their partner program." But I think a lot of people in that situation, it was definitely jarring. What was that like for you as someone who, I mean, I know you ended up walking away briefly and then coming back, and then as soon as you came back, they got shut down. But what were your thoughts on Mixer versus Twitch at the time when you were kind of involved in that side of things? What kept you on the Mixer side versus hopping on over to Twitch before all of that stuff went down?
I enjoyed a lot of things, but I enjoyed the FTL. Also, during that time, I built a community, and I
Mm,
was part of some stream teams. I became friends with some other streamers. I learned how to be a mod for this partner streamer that had took me under his wing. And him and I would hang out a lot and play games and stuff. We played Minecraft, whatever. That's where the community was. I know I'll see it all the time still, like on streamer Twitter and stuff. Oh man, miss Mixer. I miss this. I miss that. I'm one of the few that don't. At the time, it was very jarring. I'm like, oh man, there goes my home. I got to start all over again. I'm old man. Like I don't know if I want to do this again. I don't. It's just a hobby. I don't know if I should continue doing it.
mm-hmm.
And then as I started to get away from it, and I seen the amount of people that, a lot of people did quit, but I seen the amount of people. I know everybody was scrambling, trying to, keep their community together, moving to a new platform. But I saw the amount of people that actually weren't there anymore, because it kind of opened my eyes that yes, Mixer was smaller, so it was more tight knit. But then I started to realize it was almost um, more of a selfish group. Honestly, I know that's kind of a hot take, and some people won't agree with that. But I kind of realized I was you know, over there with rose-colored glasses at times. Like, oh, I remember going on a podcast on Twitch, and it was Twitch people versus Mixer people, and why is
Mm.
Mixer good and why is Twitch good? And I was like one of two Mixer streamers, and I would go against everything they would say. Y'all are wrong. Y'all are wrong. And then once I kind of made the switch over, and I had a new perspective on streaming and actually was taking it seriously, I'm like, wow, they were right. Like it wasn't just because it's a smaller community and it's tighter or whatever. It wasn't what I thought it was. You know what I mean? I found more love here on Twitch, and I wouldn't have told you that when you'll never find that. It's too big. Everybody's blah blah
Mm.
blah blah. No, like I mean, I found you and you guys, we were playing Iron Banner and you joined in, and like it was one of the funnest nights that I've had. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and and you had that on Mixer, but a lot of it was manufactured with hype zones and rolling things like follow for follow, and it wasn't the same. It was like we were the cool alternative, when really, the family was here on the Twitch side, which is crazy to think now. But
Hmm.
like I said, I met all you guys. Y'all came in and y'all just, y'all made it crazy, and you know what I mean. Like y'all made it fun, and I was like, those moments. Even though I had a following of it, I didn't have those moments over there. I had them here. You know what I mean. I had that love, that excitement, that we're really in this together. Like because we're even smaller fish in an even bigger pond. You know what I mean? Like it was just amazing. And then I know it was I don't know if it was the same night. It was another night. It was like AZ's birthday, and I went back and watched the video, and y'all were just like in his birthday stream, but y'all were talking about me and rolling and having fun and joking around and like laughing. And I was doing something. I was doing a raid forever. I think that's what it was. Like
Yeah.
one of those raids where I'm just, we got it, guys. We got it. We'll do it.
Yeah.
We'll get it done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just to see that, like, and I know it's cliche and everybody says it, but just see those moments of, people being happy and having fun and laughing and enjoying themselves, even if they're doing totally something different, is what made it all like what makes Twitch worth it to me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And for those that don't have the context, yeah, we were I was playing Destiny with the usual streamer crew, and we ended up on a team with Sim just randomly. We didn't know him. It was just he was our blueberry, which is a term in Destiny when it's someone you don't know. He was one of our strangers, and he had the name that essentially said he's on Twitch. And I have a thing where I always look. If Twitch is in the name of someone that I see in a game, I will check it really quickly. And I believe it was Shannon who pulled you up first, but then we saw that you were streaming, and we're like, "Oh, this dude's cool." We appreciated uh, your attitude more than anything, and so yeah, I guess we did adopt you when we found you on Destiny. But thanks for sharing that. I think it's interesting that with Twitch, you can find these communities, even though it is the largest of the live stream platforms. When you start finding those communities that are tight knit, I do feel like it really makes the Twitch experience just such a wonderful thing when you start to find people who share your passions or your interests. And yeah, I mean, the Lego and making and crafters crew, we there's a lot of us that are pretty close, so I'm glad that we were able to kind of meet you and get you involved and bring you into it. um when you started streaming on, I guess it was Beam at the time, right? Was it Beam at the
mhm,
time when you started? How
mhm.
long ago was that, man? Like how long have you actually been actively like involved as a creator?
um 5 years maybe. I mean, in the beginning of Beam, the first time around with Twitch, it was just, off and on. It wasn't really like anything serious. But so I would say my seriousness would probably be, I've been on Twitch now this time. I call it my real time, for 3 years. So maybe 4 years. I've always dabbled in like making very bad YouTube videos back then, very grainy on a webcam and built into my laptop. But for quite a few years, I just honestly I enjoy doing, like, I was always afraid at a lot of point in time being in front of the camera,
Right.
but I always found that rush and that joy of, being around people and making them laugh. So I've slowly turned towards, I honestly I enjoy setting everything up and figuring everything out. How do I use this bot? How to use that bot? How do I make this happen? It's one of the reasons why I fell in love with like different people's streams that I've watched, like Zach's or AZ's, just like all the different things that go on in there. Like I'll watch like a Galil level on YouTube or a Nutty or these people, and they're doing all these crazy things, and I'm like, how can I do something crazy like that? And to me, that's the biggest rush to me, is doing that kind of thing. But yeah, so about 4 years, and the thing that keeps me going is just trying to find new innovative ways to do something that people have been doing for years.
Yeah, and the fact that there's now so many tools available to us as creators, we can do all kinds of things when it comes to allowing chat to engage with our channels. Um, Kill King in chat does have a question. How do you feel about the up and coming competition in the streaming world that Twitch has with other services like Kick, for example? And where do you see the future of Twitch going?
Competition is king. You need competition, whether you're, you know, an Xbox needs a Sony, you know what I mean? Nintendo needed Sega to innovate. You need competition in everything, because if not, you become stagnant. You look in back to where, my streaming journey started with something like Madden. They lost all competition when NFL did their license with them exclusively, and the game has slowly gone downhill to now to where they have a, I heard they have a mandate, if you don't get better, we're going to take the license away from you from the NFL. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Not having competition, I can do whatever I want. Like, we're not gonna really change things up. And we've seen that happen with Twitch over time. They've taken things away from partners, they've taken things away, this, that, and the third. But with YouTube signing up, the Ludwigs, the Foosleys, all these different people trying to build up their live streaming platform, you've seen Twitch make some changes. And now with kickstarting, if you'll see Twitch make more changes. I don't necessarily see that it'll go away. There's always that chance, because some some things you look at, it's like at a loss overall for Amazon. They don't necessarily make money from it. But then you also see figures where they're making $1 billion in profit last year. So where does the truth actually lie? I don't know. But I think as long as there's still a place for it, I think that Twitch will be around and survive. And I know, like, that's the new fad. Twitch is dying. This is going to lose to this. This is going to lose to that. I remember hearing that with Mixer. Mixer is going to be the Twitch killer. Oh, Ninja signed to Mixer. Shroud signed to Mixer. Oh, there goes Twitch. But the next person pops up. You know what I mean? Ludwig, oh my gosh, the biggest streamer on Twitch. He leaves and goes to YouTube. Then you have Kai Cenat, who comes out and destroys records. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I think 300,000 subs in a month. Like, there will be somebody to fill that void as long as there's competition. And competition will do nothing but help us on Twitch. I
yeah,
see on streamer Twitter all the time. Oh man, the people on Kick, man, Twitch sucks, blah blah blah. The people on Twitch, oh, Kick sucks. Like, there's good and bad to both. Don't get me wrong, but we as a people should want all of the platforms to survive. I tried out D Live, I tried out Trovo, I tried out Glemish. All those different streaming sites, if they survive, they innovate. We wouldn't have channel points on Twitch right now if it wasn't for the interactive board on Mixer. There's things that innovations that are made, because going back to the football analogy, XFL way back in the day was owned by the WWF, and they had this camera that would go right down the middle of the field, and everybody's like, oh, they're doing all this crazy stuff, it's a good old boys. And now it's like one of the best shots you'll see in football. Like, even though that's not around anymore, that innovation just,
yeah,
it breeds creativity. Like I said, I look at all different kinds of creators all the time. How can I do what they're doing but my way? Like, I wouldn't
yeah.
be able to do that if there wasn't competition.
Having other platforms around like Kick, like you said, it does force Twitch to really look at what they're doing, and think about how they're hopefully making things better for their users, creators, and viewers. And I think having those other services around is vital for for the actual streaming, I guess, industry, or like just this section of the internet. Uh, Mr. Zaris makes a point. Is Kick really competition when they're backed by gambling and have to use AWS and borrowing Twitch coding and framework? I don't disagree with you, Mr. Zaris. I actually, yeah, those are actually such great points. I think more than anything, when Mixer was around, right? When some of these other sites came on the scene, when YouTube started making deals with some of the bigger Twitch streamers. I think that stuff is vitally important for even just the life of creators who use any of those platforms. Like you said, it breeds innovation. I think it forces Twitch to actually think about how they continue to iterate on their features and the things that they provide for their creators and their communities and viewers. I don't see Twitch going anywhere, honestly, right? I mean, it's survived a mixer. It's survived some of these other things that are coming up. I don't think Twitch will go out anytime soon. I think as far as live stream experiences go, is probably one of the best ones out there, honestly. I mean, there's a reason why it's so popular and why it's withstanded the test of the last several years, honestly. I think Amazon is struggling to figure out how to actually make it as profitable as it can be to keep it alive. That is a problem that I think they need to still figure out, right? But I don't think that means Twitch is just gonna go away. Honestly, I think that just means. I mean, I imagine we'll see more things get reduced if they can't figure out how to keep revenue steady for the company itself. But I don't see it going away anytime soon. That's my thoughts on it. I mean, that said, as someone who spent time on Mixer, right? You spent some time there, and you said you tried out all the other platforms. What kind of thoughts do you have around, like, why would you make, like, if I was a creator, what would dictate my choice in terms of which platform to go to right now? What do you have any thoughts or advice for folks who are thinking about either starting to stream and trying to pick a platform, or maybe they're already on Twitch but they want to look at some of these other places? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Right now, of course, obviously Twitch is king. If it's just a simple thing about getting that bag, of course I would understand, you going to a place like Kick and getting that sub split and whatnot. But I think the biggest thing that I've learned overall is that I heard somebody else say it as well. Don't necessarily, even if you want to stream on a platform, don't start streaming first. Start putting your content out in different places. The one big issue that all streaming services, in my opinion, have is discoverability. There's a reason why people are using TikTok and YouTube Short, Instagram Reels, long form YouTube. I would say invest in yourself in those realms before you invest in streaming. But I would definitely say probably, just because if you come straight on to Twitch, there's possibilities. There's always luck involved or whatever, but just coming to Twitch and streaming, and there's a good possibility for a good little while you're going to be streaming to 0, 1, 2, 3 people. So the one thing I'll say is diversify, put your content everywhere, and then let that dictate. Because the biggest thing that you need to do, and it's actually a model that, in my opinion, that Twitch wants. Twitch wants you to go and build an audience on TikTok and bring them to Twitch, because what is that? That brings new viewers that were never going to go on Twitch in the first place. They're on Twitch now because this person built a following and they're bringing them with them.
Right.
That's the reason why you see these different stars from, whether it be, athletes or stars in shows or whatever. They come and they bring their audience to Twitch. That's why Twitch will be willing to pay them, is because they want they don't people just don't. If you're not looking to be or go on Twitch, you're not going to find Twitch. But like I said, if you go and you build a following on YouTube, you do, you know, tech stuff, or like Linus Tech Tips or something, you do something on YouTube like that, those people are looking for that content that they can search for and find directly on that site. But then they're going to follow you over. You're going to bring your audience over, and that's the biggest thing. You gotta make yourself. You gotta diversify your content. That's why when I was back on Mixer Beam, I was putting my content out everywhere. I was putting it on every platform.
Right.
Um, just relying on, I'm gonna hit the go live button and people are gonna find me. It's not.
It's not
It's not
feasible,
the
is
way.
it? Yeah.
No.
Especially now, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the number of live streamers is just it grows so wildly. I mean, there's literally millions of like streamers at a given time. They're live
Mm-hmm.
collectively across multiple platforms. I do agree with your feeling of diversifying. I think and you said something that's really awesome in that I think if you stick around Twitch long enough, you hear everyone kind of saying that discoverability sucks. It's really hard to build an audience, etc., etc. And I really like that you called out something that I think is now just finally starting to take hold in the streamer community is consider building content for multiple platforms, right? Because as much as Twitch could do, because I think we all agree Twitch can do more to help discoverability, but even as much as they could do within their own site, I think the win for them and for their streamers is, like you said, if we're building as a Twitch streamer audiences on other platforms, whether it be TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, as we build those communities and then we say, okay, I'm streaming on Twitch today, and that those communities come watch our streams on Twitch, we're bringing and infusing a lot more viewership that might not already be on Twitch to this website. And I think that's a really good point. I think that's something, especially nowadays, Creatrix Britt was talking about this on her episode, was really just being able to make that content across other places because it will then bring people to your streams. And so, good point. I completely agree. I think it was really easy in the earlier days to just stream a lot and build a huge following, right? Back, 10 years ago. But now fresh streamers, if they want to actually build their audience, like it's going to take more than just streaming a lot. It's trying to find a way to build that content where people can find you. As a variety streamer yourself, what do you find to be some of the toughest things about trying to like grow your channel since you do stream multiple types of games?
Keeping the audience engaged. And in the sense, I mean, I'll go back to when I played GTRP.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I loved it. It was some of the most creative things that I've ever done. It was some of the most creative, fulfilling things that I've done. Like a lot of people that I would play with, they would just go, "Oh, I'm gonna go do this and make money. I'm just gonna do this and make money." I'm like, you're treating it like you do your 9 to 5. Like you're just going in, you're punching the clock, you're punching out, and that's not like, be creative. Like I would go and you know, pretend that I was taking pictures of the mafia with a fake camera and make them pay me money to throw the camera away. Like
That's
I
funny.
really wasn't taking pictures. There was no way to take pictures in the game. I wasn't really, and I would make money from doing it. I was like be creative. And so during that time, I saw a really big boom. I would have days where I would have anywhere between 20 and 100 people watching. I was sitting at my highest amount of subs ever. Like I would have a couple hundred subs. People would be there and supportive. They all want to see it. They want to be a part of it. But then I kind of lost a little bit of love for it because, like with anything, if you're simulating real life, you're going to simulate drama. And
Mm,
people, they get upset and they take it too seriously. They get in too deep, and I kind of moved away from it. And when I moved away from it, went from having 25 to 50, however many people in a stream I'd have, all these people come in and talking about it to where it just nosedived, and
right.
to where people weren't around. I call it the Fortnite effect. Um, which is true. Like you see somebody, one of the biggest streamers in the world, Ninja, he was having how many people because of Fortnite? He did collaborations with Drake. He was like basically helped create the big boom that we see now in streaming besides, the pandemic. And when he diversified, he went from having, don't quote me on the numbers, from 50,000 people to having 5,000 people watching. If
Right.
one of the biggest streamers in the world has that kind of disparity, me switching from having 20 viewers who are all into watching GTA, and then I go to sudden I want to play Zelda, and it's like four people watching. The biggest thing is bringing people along for the ride. And I think, which is another piece of advice I've heard, and I wholeheartedly agree with it, being a variety streamer is one of the hardest things to do. It's easy to stay with, I could stay with Dead by Daylight, or stay with, Madden, or stay with 2K, or stay with GTA, and build that following, and then have those people that'll come and be around, and whatever. But the minute you switch, are they going to stay or are they going to leave?
Right.
And so I find you find more dedicated people in variety because they're there for you and whatever you change to. But that's actually been my biggest pitfall is changing it up, because you got to be very careful when you're changing up your content, because it doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to come along for the ride with you, even if they do like you,
Right.
because people are creatures of habit. They watch what they want to watch. They want to watch that same show. Well, showing my age, that same show every Thursday night, Friends or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
they're creatures of habit. I want to watch this. I want to do this. So you kind of change it up. They kind of go the other way.
Variety streamers have it really hard. They have it really, really tough. Do you have any thoughts or advice for people who want to go variety, or are in variety right now? What kind of help or advice would you give them if they're trying to make it work?
Uh, be yourself, be different. And when I say be different, I don't mean be different as in not be yourself. Like just be different. Don't do what everybody else is doing, because then when you start to scroll down the list, all of the people look the exact same. Everybody's gonna have the same. Like I remember when I first started streaming, everybody had their name in the same spot, the same event list here, the same this, the same that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what makes me different from you? Except I'm on the bottom of the list and you might be in the middle, you might be whatever. People are gonna look at those things that stand out, just even little things like camera placement. If you put your camera in the bottom left, you're gonna have the viewer number of people aren't gonna see your face. People want to see your face, they want to see, or your VTuber or whatever it is. Diversify yourself, make yourself stand out. And it's not necessarily all the bells and whistles that you see, like this alert or that alert or this thing. I mean, I'm known for having like 10 million bit alerts. That doesn't bring anybody in because people aren't using them, you know what I mean? But when they come to the stream, what do they see different? What brings them, what do I bring to the table that are going to make people stick there and stay? What's it gonna draw people in? What's gonna make people click it the second time? And it's also the biggest thing that I learned is know the platform you're dealing with. Because there's so many people that start out with streaming. One of the biggest problems, and I saw Sam Woodall, who's a great creator and a good editor. He used to edit for Senpai Gaming, Harris Heller. I don't know if he still does or not, but I know he does his own thing too. I saw a few years ago, he was like, listen, guys, he's like, you might hate running ads, but run your own ads so you don't get that initial ad when somebody jumps into your stream, like because people end up leaving. Know your platform, know what you can and can't do behind the scenes, like little things like an ad at the beginning of your stream, somebody leaves. They have the attention span of a gnat, you know what I mean? Like we want that instant gratification. That's why stuff like TikTok, and before that Vine or Reels now, or Shorts. Know the platform and the things that you can do, because those little things can give you such an advantage. If I click a stream and there's an ad and I have to wait a minute to see somebody, or I can click a stream and see somebody immediately, I'm probably going to give that person I see immediately more of a chance.
Mm.
Like just know little things like that.
What makes Old Man Sim stand out or different than other creators?
That I've done that. I've been around gaming forever. Like I love gaming. And that's not saying others don't, but like I live and breathe this. I live and breathe content. Like I just I'm fun. I'm just talking about myself. It's so weird. Like I'm funny and I like to have fun. I'll I want to include everybody. I want to bring everybody in and make everybody feel at home. And I know these are things that a lot of creators do, but the one thing is I don't care. If I'm in the middle of the game doesn't take precedent. Like I'll sit there and I'll be in the middle of the game in the heart of something. I've done it many times, like whether it be like I'm in the raid or I'm, in a Dead by Daylight game or, I'm in the middle of a crucial part of the thing. And I don't care. I'm talking to y'all. I'm being part of y'all. Like I want to interact with y'all. Like that's the biggest thing I think I bring is that I want to talk to everybody. I try to talk to everybody. Sometimes yes, you get lost in the sauce and you're like, oh, what am I doing? And you miss a chat message or something like that. But I want it to be like I'm very inclusive with the people. I want to give the people what they want. I want, you know, I want you to feel like home. I want you to feel like it's not my stream, it's our stream. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
just have fun and be silly and be cringy and say whatever and not be afraid of what I say. Like I say some wild stuff and that's fine. Like, but what does it matter? I'm a manager at my job and I'll do the same thing with my employees. Like they're like, you're my manager. Why are you saying silly stuff? I'm like, why not? Like, what does it matter? Like,
Yeah,
we're having fun. We're here to enjoy ourselves. That's the biggest thing with streaming. We're here to enjoy ourselves.
yeah.
It's so we don't have to deal with the 9 to 5 that we do every day. You know what I mean? It's fun, and that's what I try to bring to the table. Just have fun. Try to be different.
Are there any creators or streamers or YouTubers that inspire you? Are there any particular creators out there that kind of give you that energy or inspire you to do what you do? And of course, if so, who are they? Who do you keep up with?
Oh man, so many of them. I mentioned him kind of a little bit earlier, like Galileo Level. I think I'm saying his name right. I love like some of the stuff that he does innovation stream wise and do this with OBS. You have Nutty. He's just really puts out really funny YouTube videos, but also shows you how to do cool things like how to hook up a printer, how to use this monitor to do this, or how to do this thing, or how to do that thing. If I want to know like different things about the industry, like Harris Heller and some, I'm not a huge fan of Harris as a whole. A friend of mine had a bad interaction with him, so but that's neither here nor there. But he puts out good information. Like if I want to know what technology I could possibly use, and he's had history in cameras or audio and stuff. Or Sam Woodall, I like to watch him if I'm looking for edits or different insights of little things that maybe I wouldn't think about. I
Mm.
think a lot of stuff has come from kind of those people.
Mm-hmm.
Streaming wise, oh man, I love watching Osmongold. Like that's like I just find him funny just because he's just like whether I agree or disagree with him, he just says how he feels and doesn't care.
That's
He
true.
doesn't care that he's that he doesn't care that he's that meme of the guy on the computer who has like food everywhere and you know what I mean? Like was it South Park or something? Like he
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
care that he's that because that's he just says how he feels and like I like that. I once again like I'm not a huge fan of I don't sit down and watch his streams, but I enjoyed what like Ludwig brought to the table. Like he would make commercials for his stream or whatever. He would do shows or he would do like anybody that gets my creative juices going and those things. Some people controversial. Like I know not everybody likes him, but I'll watch a Mizkif stream just because he does different things. Like I take bits and pieces from different people. The first time I saw Zach stream, oh my gosh, like just the craziness and the hype and the different things. Like
yeah,
literally, I've known him for a very little time, but he's an inspiration to me. I remember like it was one of the coolest things. We're all on a call and we're doing a raid or something, I think. And he's like, man, guys, I got that check mark. And I'm like, what? Like I was
yeah,
there for and after watching his stream before that, like I understand like
yeah,
people like him are an inspiration or or AZ, these people, even though whether I've known them for long or not, and it's not just because they're part of this community, but
Hmm.
Um, I try to take from everybody. Like they're themselves, but at the same time they're a little bit different. I love what you do with the podcast. It's not because I'm on it. You and I talked a little bit backstage, like, or even when I started watching Justin TV,
Yeah.
4 Player podcast. Like this stuff is cool to me. Like all of I take inspiration from everybody I watch, and but of course there's those streamers you see. Okay, they're on. They're doing this. They're doing that.
Yeah.
I don't. Okay, sorry, I was hearing something in my ear. Um, uh, but yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Like there's so many amazing creators out there. I try to learn from everybody. Like if I watch you, I put time into watching you. Like I'm drawing some inspiration from you. I'm
Mm.
like, how did they do that? How can I do something similar but completely different
Hmm.
from that? And that sparking ideas, making that light bulb go above my head.
Yeah.
You know.
Thank you for sharing that. And I like
Hmm.
you, a lot of those same people inspire me on a regular basis. So I'm glad that we found each other. I think that's really awesome, and I'm glad that you know a lot of the same people inspire me. So we have that in common. You have talked about this a bit on your stream, that you are actually looking to do more than gaming. You're looking to do things
Hmm.
outside of it as well. What I guess what does the future hold for your stream? What kind of plans do you have cooking up for what you want to do in the future?
I'm always going to be a gamer at heart. As I get older, I do see sometimes my hand-eye coordination goes slower and slower, so I'm not as good as I once was. That one jump I could make before, that one shot I could hit before, I'm not doing as much. But I kind of mentioned before, like in a sense, streaming kind of takes away from the gaming a little bit, and it's
Mm,
not in a bad way. It's that I remember always sitting on my couch or whatever else playing the game and being lost in the game and like hyper focused in Final Fantasy 7 and I'm playing for 99, 99, 99 hours. I can't sit there and do that anymore and like be in the same, pair of sweatpants for 3 days, like as a, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like lost in the sauce of, but so I kind of want to go back to, where I started, like 4 Player podcast. I'd love to do some more podcasts. That's why when I saw that you were doing, I'm like, man, let me jump in. I want to try to do this. I was talking about it on my stream. I would love to do like a game show or game show. I remember growing up and every, Friday and Saturday I would stay with my grandparents and I'd watch like Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy
yeah.
or even like Family Feud or any of those things. And those things always piqued my interest. And then I started when I came back to Twitch, I started seeing somebody I mentioned before, Ludwig. He was doing Mogul Money. He was doing, different kinds of shows. I'm like, that would be awesome. I would
Yeah.
love to have a group of friends, a streamer house, something of that sense. It's something I've always wanted, and just create game shows. Like I've got a few in the works that I've messed around with. I have layouts for them. I would love to start one by the time my birthday comes around in August. But I hope I've made 2 commercials before. I made a commercial for something. You have to come to my stream for that. It's kind of cringe. And then I made an old infomercial. I used to do this thing to where I would sing a song badly on stream for 5 subs, and so I took a compilation of that and I made an old like '90s infomercial, like you would do, like see for CDs at 2 o'clock in the morning, like the best of, whatever. And I made an infomercial about that. Like I want to get more into that style of content,
Yeah.
stuff that's also good for YouTube, brings people over here as well. I will always play games, but I think as time goes on, I'll get away from that more and more and get more into the podcast, more into the game shows. I would love, to have like the Destiny guys on like a game show, or have like find another community and do like a Family Feud style game against each other, or just a knowledge based games on streaming or Twitch. And like I said, I fell in love with that kind of content on Twitch from somebody like a Ludwig, somebody I don't really watch that much, but every time he does one of those kind of shows,
Oh yeah.
I'm there. If I watch and I see like OTK, they're doing like parasocial or doing like an elevated show, like I'm watching these game shows. It's like like my version of what I watched with my grandparents back in the day, but it's like more my speed because it's what I'm into now. So that's hopefully what you'll see in the future
Yeah.
is some game shows coming here soon. That would be
Cool.
really dope. It's something I'd really like to do.
I love it. I think that's an awesome idea. I think that there's plenty of room for that. So I wish you the best of luck. I can't wait to see what you come up with. And though I can't speak for everyone in that Destiny crew, let me know. Let me know what you're thinking, and I'd be glad to talk to you about that. See what you got cooking, man, and we'll talk about what might be possible. So, you
Yeah,
heard it here first, folks. Maybe there'll be some kind of shows, game show like in nature. I think that's the kind of content, to be honest with you, that we don't see enough of on Twitch. Honestly, I mean it exists, but there's such a very small percentage of channels that even do that on a regular basis. And so I think that would be a potentially good move for you, depending on what you end up deciding on. So keep us all posted. I'd love to see it. I mean, I love game shows, man. I think game shows are great. I mean, I grew up kind of like you. I grew up with watching like Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy with family, with parents or uncles and aunts, if I'd be over at their house, I'd end up watching game shows. I mean, nothing there's nothing better, especially on like a sick day, than like hanging out on your couch and watching Price is Right. I mean, I love that. That's one of my favorite things even now as an adult. Like as a kid I used to partake in that more. I love it. I think it's a good move for you. I think that especially given what you love about creating and streaming, I think that's a natural step for you. So uh best of luck on that pursuit, man. Just let
I
us know.
appreciate it.
How has your outlook on creating content changed over time? How have taking it probably less seriously when you started to where you are now? How has your perspective changed when it comes to just making things on Twitch?
I used to think it was easy. Before I ever hit, I'm like, man, I'm just playing a game and talking. I just gotta hit a button. That's all I gotta do. And then as I started doing it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a job.
Mm.
Like it really is. And that's the thing that I've had to come to reality with. It'll never replace my day job. Maybe one day, you never know. Like I said, I'm old. The time's running out. You know what I mean? I don't know how much time I got left in the creation space, but I like to challenge myself, and the challenge of seeing that what I can do or what can be done, or if I can make a mark, even if I'm always just a 4 or 5 year Andy, that's fine. Like, because there's been people that I know that either I've inspired or touched or changed their perspective on streaming or given them some idea. And it might have sparked somebody who one day becomes the next big person or whatever. But yeah, that's I went from thinking like, oh man, this is easy, give me like, 6 months to a year. Everybody's gonna find me funny, and I'm gonna sit there and be partner, and I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna be home playing video games all day. Yeah, video games. And then to being like, you know what? That's not, there's a lot of luck involved. There's a lot of skill involved as well. Like it's a very, very skilled thing. Like um the the thing is I didn't realize is that the ones that made it look easy were just really, really good at it,
Yeah.
like extremely good at it. And it's a craft you have to hone. And
Hmm.
at points in time, I was lazy. Man, I hate editing. I'm not going to edit. That's stupid. I don't need to do that. And then to now, I'm like, you know what? I kind of like editing. I kind of like doing this. I kind
Yeah.
of like messing with that. I kind of like seeing how to shape the content or learning how to do this and that. Like I said, will it ever be a replacement for a job? No, it'll be a little bit of, a side hustle or some fun. Yeah. But if I never get another sub and never get another bit, and that's okay too. I'm just, like I said, I always think about it like this. When you go to a store and you hold the door open for somebody, that person might have been having the worst day in the world, but because somebody showed them kindness enough to open the door for them, to show them that respect. They're putting the money in their hand instead of sitting it on the counter. It'll change their day enough. So if I'm able to do that once a week on stream, that's more than satisfying enough. I'm not anything that I have, whether it be lights or all the upgrades I've done on my computer or any of the bells and whistles that us streamers have at our fingertips anymore. I paid for it, but I never paid for it until chat paid for it, until Twitch paid for it. You know what I mean? I used the money I went from there to upgrade it. So everything right now, I'm at a win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't, would extra money be nice? Yes, everybody loves money. Money's good. You know, it allows us to do things that we want to do. I always foresee this being a thing, not necessarily, maybe if I won't be streaming forever, but maybe I'm behind the scenes. Maybe I'm, giving advice or showing people and directing people, whether, in my opinion, whether you're a one viewer, Andy, or 10,000 people, you can learn from anybody. So I would just love to be at some point, and I'd like to, my dad's almost 70 years old playing Call of Duty. I'd love to be almost 70 years old helping somebody push content, even if I'm not the one creating it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that, man. I think that's just such a wonderful way to treat it and view it. So I wish you the best of luck on that, man. So keep doing what you're doing. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for hanging out with me for this show, for this episode, Sim. I'm glad that we got to sit down and hear a little bit more about you and what makes you tick and what inspires you. So, if you're watching or you're listening, give OldManSim a follow. Check him out, twitch.tv/OldManSim. Thank you for taking the time, dude. I really do appreciate it. And man, it's cool to see folks like you who have been doing this for as long as you have and still loving it and still enjoying it with this hope and passion that drives you to keep doing it. So thank you for everything. I'm glad we found you on a random night playing Destiny. I want you to keep doing what you're doing. Keep up the wonderful work. Thank you, Sim. I really do appreciate it.
Well, no, thank you for having me. Like I said, life is a lot of luck, and I lucked out that one day I decided to play Iron Banner, and I wasn't necessarily going to, and I ran into y'all, and we're here today, and I've met some amazing people that I can now call friends. You know what I'm saying? Like family. Like it's these moments that make going live or jumping into a game worth it. So thank you for having me. Thank you for putting the post on Twitter that I responded to and probably TLDR'd it. You know what I mean?
Of course.
But I appreciate you having me, man. It's been a pleasure, and I'm of utmost respect and grateful for you having me on.
Well, thank you, and the pleasure was mine, man. Sim, the floor is yours. To leave any parting words or a final message for those that are watching or listening, it's all yours, Sim.
I mean, of course, follow me on Twitch and all my socials, but more than anything, man, just support one another, show each other some love, whether you're subbing, bidding, hanging out in the chat. Just be kind to each other. Just uplift one another. Hold that door open. Put the money in somebody's hand when you're at the register. Go and show support, show love, uplift somebody. We're all in this world together. The one thing I heard, I didn't get to say, I was a big Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, and one thing in that show that always stands out to me, and it's something that I live by: you can never take life too seriously. You're never going to make it out alive, and that's true. So we got to make sure that we just uplift each other and show each other some love, man. That's all we got to do. And I appreciate everybody that's here and watching or listening later. And just, yeah, thank you. This is awesome, man. And make sure that you're following more and more everywhere. Come on now and show yourself some love. He's the man that's putting all this stuff together. Make sure everybody, if you're on YouTube watching it, hit that sub button, leave a comment, hit the like, all the stuff that we say on our videos and whatnot. Show him some love.